Report shows historic decline in Uxbridge home building. Daryl Knight, The Standard, Uxbridge. A recent report shows housing growth is at a near historic low in Uxbridge Township. At Council's meeting on the morning of Monday, February 5th, a report from Regional Councillor Bruce Garrod was presented during the portion of the meeting dedicated to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, providing an outline for historic and current growth within the township, as well as a forecast until 2026 for future growth trends. The report from Councillor Garrod comes on the heels of a recent report from the region of Durham, which showed household growth increased by a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 1.23% between December of 2018 and May of 2023 for the region. By contrast, the report noted the CAGR for Uxbridge was only 0.46% for the same period. Sometimes the perception of growth versus the reality varies, commented Councillor Garrod. So I did a little homework to see what it had been in the past and what it's at now, using the same source data to give a little more detail than the report from our friends at the region. In his report, Councillor Garrod detailed the growth which occurred in each term of council dating back to the year 2000. This showed, indeed, current growth trends are down significantly compared to the early 2000s in Uxbridge Township. According to the report, there have been 3 terms of council over the past 24 years, which have seen an average growth of more than 100 homes per year. Between 2014 and 2018, the township added 405 new homes, for an average of 101 per year, with a CAGR of 1.3%. For the years of 2006 to 2010, the township grew by 640 homes, for an average of 160 per year, with a CAGR of 2.3%. The largest building boom in Uxbridge took place between 2003 and 2006, with 500 homes added over the 3 years, for an average of approximately 166 every year, and a high-water CAGR of 2.6%. However, the current numbers pale in comparison. For the most recent council term, from 2018 to 2022, growth has slowed to a total of 150 homes, or 37 per year, and a CAGR of less than 0.5%. Those numbers are anticipated to continue in the present term of council until 2026, with growth forecasted at just 155 homes over that period, an average of 39 per year.
Scugog fire officials flag dangerous local ice conditions. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Scugog. The Scugog Fire Department is reminding members of the public that the ice on Lake Scugog isn't safe. At a meeting on Monday, February 12th, Scugog Fire Chief Mark Burney discussed ice safety following a recent incident. This past weekend, we did have an occurrence on the ice. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, except for perhaps the four-wheeler, he said. The fire chief described the ice conditions as very dangerous out there right now, and he stated he's encouraging people to stay off the ice. Scugog Deputy Mayor and Ward 2 Councillor Jana Guido also commented on ice safety. We want to ensure not only our community is safe, but also our fire and emergency services who are having to go out and do those rescues.
Revised timeline for Sunderland Arena expansion project. Daryl Knight, The Standard, Brock. As the township continues to work with the province over what a scaled-down version of the Sunderland Arena expansion project will look like, there has been a recent update to the project timeline. Citing escalating building costs, the township has been engaged in conversations with the province over potentially scaling down the project from its original version. While this de-scoping is continuing to be explored in conversations between Brock and the province over funding from a building grant, as well as ensuring the present and future needs of the community are met, it has resulted in a slight change to the project timeline. The township recently announced the arena will not close on April 8th as scheduled. Rather, due to the ongoing de-scoping conversations with the province, the arena is now slated to remain open until following the Sunderland Fall Fair in mid-September. This is to better reflect the delay in approval from the province for the township's de-scoping application. As part of the ongoing 2024 municipal budget deliberations, the Sunderland Arena expansion project is scheduled to be discussed by Council during the budget session on Thursday, February 15th, starting at 10 a.m. Kawartha Lakes Mayor to look at options for Council to handle deputations better. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Kawartha Lakes. The City of Kawartha Lakes Mayor, Doug Elmsley, is going to look at options for how Kawartha Lakes Council can better handle deputations. In an unscheduled discussion at the end of a meeting on Tuesday, February 6th, Mayor Elmsley told councillors he was uncomfortable with the way Council was reacting to deputations from the public. "I'm not happy with the way we deal with deputations. I think a good portion of it is my fault for perhaps being too lax. I think we have deputants who come here and they're very passionate and they have a point of view. It's the first time they're coming here, and it's the first time many people on Council are hearing it," Mayor Elmsley said. "There may be, as I usually find out later, another side to the story." During deputations, those who apply to speak to Council are given 5 minutes to talk about their issue, provide their input, or present ideas to Council. Mayor Elmsley stated, "The fault he's found is councillors may be acting too quickly to try to solve an issue. We start making motions on the fly, which I don't think are always fair to staff. I think in some instances, when we fumble around with the wording and we don't get things exactly right, it makes us look amateurish, and I don't think we are." Mayor Elmsley suggested deputations, not meant simply for information, could be received and referred to staff before decisions are made. However, he said he'll be having discussions with CAO Ron Taylor and Clerk Kathy Ritchie on how to best move forward with fixing this issue. "I don't think we're doing ourselves justice. I don't think we're doing the deputants justice, and I don't think we're doing staff justice," Mayor Elmsley concluded. There were a total of 6 deputations made to Council at the February 6th meeting.
Do you remember being at Grandma's house and she knew exactly where everything was? Everything had some value and was utilized. She'd bake those cookies you loved from scratch. Funny. When you got a scratch, she would apply a small amount of honey as a home remedy to prevent an infection, then cover it with a homemade bandage from old clothing scraps. My grandma and mother would use sandwich bags to put on our feet when the insides of our boots got wet from playing outside all day. It seemed so natural, a normal part of living, especially farm or country life. I have so many fond memories of visiting them. They appreciated all those items and experienced utilizing them in everyday life. Nothing was wasted. The fruit cellar was stacked high with canned goods, preserves, and newspaper was piled high for the wood stove. My grandparents even had a commode located in their kitchen to avoid traveling outside during those cold winter months. My granddad called it his high throne, as it was lined with red velvet. My sisters and I always fought over who would sit on it when not in use. Oh, and for a bath night, there was a cow trough which sat in the kitchen, while my grandma had buckets of water heating on the wood stove. My granddad was always first, then it went by age. That was part of life, a common daily occurrence, and vital for survival of northern Canadian living and rural life. It was a real treat when we could look at the Sears catalog with my sisters and dream of purchasing something. My grandma would circle items she wanted, send an order through the mail, and expectantly wait months for its arrival at the post office. Life was a challenge, but those items made life easier, and nothing was ever wasted. They knew a crisis could strike at any time, leaving you hungry and deprived, carried from their experience of the war. If a person had a surplus, they'd put those things aside for a rainy day or to help a neighbor or friend. My mother valued those beliefs as well while I was growing up. Being organized is different than staying organized. It's about what you think about, how you feel, and how you act. The stuff behind the stuff. Accumulating stuff is so much easier to do today. Access to product and rapid home delivery makes gathering mounds of stuff so simple. It's our mindset which needs to be addressed to reclaim the freedom in this present day and age. Over the last century, when you look at technology, things have come a long way. We have international travel, diseases have been almost eradicated. We can purchase all sorts of gadgets to make our lives easier. While this technology may seem like a good thing, it has disastrous effects of making us dependent on its effects in our mental health. It has disastrous effects of making us dependent on its effects in our mental health. The impact of clutter on mental health is a multifaceted issue and can contribute to your stress and anxiety. The good news is, decluttering can have a profoundly positive effect on your mental well-being. I have been decluttering for just over 3 years now, and there is so much freedom in this process. If your home feels cluttered, make 1 or 2 new changes at a time. A slow and steady pace is a positive and effective way to approach decluttering. Keep it simple. This is one way which makes a difference in your home, its looks, feel, and function. I have a 15-minute daily task, a reset if you will, to pick up, tidy, and clean my space. This year, we engaged in experiences for my grandchildren at Christmas time. We focused on purchasing less and doing more. I guess our grandparents did know best.
Welcome to You've Got to Be Kidding, a podcast that offers a different perspective of life around us. Listen now to author Jonathan van Bilsen.
Carnival seems to be a global time for partying, dressing up, and parading around neighborhoods. I've been to Mardi Gras in New Orleans, watched the floats in Rio, and as a child in the Netherlands, dressed in costume and danced with the best of them. I always assumed Carnival originated as a last-ditch effort to go crazy prior to Lent, the 40 days of fasting leading up to Easter. Alas, that is not the case. The historical roots of Carnival trace back to the ancient civilizations such as Egypt and Rome. Dating back to around 4000 BCE, Egypt commemorated seasonal transitions with festivities resembling modern-day Carnival. Following Alexander the Great's conquest, the Greeks absorbed and infused their religious beliefs into these celebrations. Meanwhile in Rome, Bacchanalian revelries honored Bacchus, the god of wine, marked by excessive drinking, dancing, and feasting. These mystical gatherings, characterized by uninhibited behavior, involved masks and costumes and contributed to the secretive allure of modern-day carnival parades and masked balls. I found it interesting to learn how Carnival is celebrated around the world. For example, Santa Cruz has the biggest carnival in Spain. They hold a Queen of the Carnival pageant where the contestants wear extravagant dresses made of satin, adorned with beads and feathers. Mogolones are open-air parties where music is played and people crowd the streets. Quebec has the distinction of hosting the third-largest carnival festival in the world. Known as the Winter Carnival, it's always held in Quebec City, and it's characterized by its official mascot, Bonhomme Carnaval, a snowman with a red beanie hat, a sash, and black buttons. The carnival lasts 17 days with a night parade every Saturday. The city is decorated with numerous ice sculptures during this time, and there's an unusual 3-kilometer ice canoe race. New Orleans, of course, celebrates Mardi Gras, which tends to stretch the entire period from Epiphany to Ash Wednesday, but most people treat it as the final 3 days period before Ash Wednesday. The Carnival in Rio de Janeiro is held every year before Lent and is considered the biggest carnival in the world, with 2 million people per day on the streets. The first carnival festival in Rio occurred in 1723. Many have heard of the Venetian Ball, which is part of the Carnival of Venice, famous throughout the world for its elaborate costumes and masks. It traces its origins to the Middle Ages, existing for several centuries until it was abolished in 1797. The tradition was revived in 1979, and the modern event now attracts approximately 3 million visitors annually. Wherever people gather, there's always an excuse for a good party. I'm Jonathan van Bilsen, and this is You've Got to Be Kidding.
You've Got to Be Kidding was presented by X4 Media with permission from the Standard Media Group. We endeavor to make all information contained in this program as accurate as possible at production time. X4 Media and the Standard Media Group are not responsible for any liabilities resulting from information contained in this program. For more information, please visit x4media.ca.
The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio for the Standard newspaper.